And we're live. Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good or be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. We all deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel good. And here's a little something about what we do in the cannabis space, a little video about what we do in the cannabis space as nurses. And then we're going to get right into the show.
Change the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship. And what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
Oh, there you go. Growing in health, growing in cannabis. Hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Mack. I'm the Vice President of Nursing and co-founder of Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse. I'm a cannabis nurse, patient advocate, and a very passionate podcaster here to change the paradigm of healthcare. I'm really excited to announce that this is my 7th year podcasting the Green Nurse, Living Your Best Life. Started podcasting in 2018 when the National Council State Boards of Nursing came out with their guidelines that all nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. I started podcasting to share compelling stories of healing to decrease stigma, since I too use cannabis as medicine. But before we get started on our very exciting show today, and we do have an exciting show for you, we have a message from our sponsors at Bloom Hemp. And I'm going to pull up this handy dandy little slide here so you can all see about Bloom. Elizabeth, tell us about Bloom.
All right. Well, Bloom is a woman and nurse-owned hemp CBD company leading with quality, safety, value, and patient-centered care. Bloom hemp CBD products are USDA organic, grown in the mountains of Colorado, triple tested for potency, purity, and contaminants, and making sure that the profiles are perfect. Bloom is also able to offer a free nurse line, so you can call 1-970-404-HOPE, and you can also just go to info@bloomhemp.com or bloomhemp.com, click on the services tab, and get your free email care plan about how to use these precious products. Oh, and 10% off with Green Nurse. There you go.
There we go. With this one, and here we are. Cannabis nursing has been recognized as a specialty, and nurses are truly making an impact on advocating for the safe therapeutic use of cannabis. And today we have a remarkable baby boomer entrepreneur who is a bundle of energetic joy. She is making a splash in the over 65 population with cannabis and intimacy education. Meet Dr. Joan Irvine. I'd like to introduce her. She's the Doctor of Clinical Hypnotherapy, a Cannabis Advocate, and a Sex Educator. She hosts Your Best Life radio show on healthylife.net. She's the author of Recipes for Hot Sex and was interviewed by Barbara Walters on The View. She utilizes a range of methods such as hypnosis, behavior modification, cognitive learning, and practical advice. Additionally, she incorporates the use of sex toys and cannabis to enhance individuals' sexual experiences, bringing more pleasure to their lives. Dr. Joan has an eclectic background and career journey characterized by various chapters her well-rounded understanding of sexual enhancement and personal.
You just got so excited.
Well, she has worked in technology, sales, government relations, online child protection, and internet policy development. Her true passion has always been sexual enhancement. Her ongoing mission is to challenge stigmas, debunk myths, and support individuals in their journeys of making her a valuable resource for seniors seeking to embrace this new chapter in their lives. Welcome, Joan. We're so glad to have you here. Really excited to hear what you have to say.
Oh, thank you. I so appreciate being here.
Yes. So, Joan, you didn't there's a couple of different storylines we want to go down, right? You didn't wake up one day. You didn't wake up one day and say, how old are you, Joan, first of all?
I am 75. I'll be 76 in June.
There you go. So we have a 75, 76-year-old cannabis consumer advocate activist here. And so you didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a cannabis activist, or I'm going to be a cannabis advocate. There's usually a story that goes along with that. So for our viewers,
Start out with that.
Yeah, start off with that story. What brought you to cannabis?
Well, I must say I am a hippie, as you could hear by my age. I was in college in the late 60s when all of a sudden weed, dope, whatever you want to call it, was on college campuses. So I actually ended up experiencing it, but I experienced it in a way that's a little bit different than some people, because it was very much of a movement. It was very much of getting into your head, and experiencing different things in your life. So that's how I became involved. And I looked at it and I said, why are they making it illegal when people can go drink? I just couldn't understand it. So that's how I started. And then it was just the next 50 years off and on I consumed. And once it became legally, medically in California, I got my medical card. And then I also, once it became adult use, then it really was my decision. I wanted to be able to help it become legal and help people to be able to enjoy it. So that, and what it did for their health and their minds and their relationships.
Right. So how did you start to use cannabis for health and wellness? Like, what types of conditions were you using it for?
Well, can I say it's interesting because I've always used it for medicine, but I just didn't know, because back in the 60s and until it really became legal, for the medical and then adult use. But I think for stress reduction, for just pain, one of the things I've used it for pain a lot. I've used it for, which we'll get into later, for more pleasure in sex. And just, as I said, and for fun. I mean, I go out, it relaxes you, and I go out dancing with friends, and it just puts you in a whole different space, and your body handles more of the dancing because of the pain management. So
There you go.
It's quite the evolution. When I think about the late 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, there's so much transpired, and going from a social revolution, We saw the trial of the Chicago 7, where there was, the protesters and all of that. And that's around the same time that Nixon created the Controlled Substance Act to jail all of those people, so that you couldn't arrest them for being hippies or protesting the war, but you could arrest them for using cannabis and marijuana at that time. And so you probably saw that in live time.
Well, yeah, and I met the Chicago 7. They came, I went to University of Kansas, and I was the token chick leader on campus. So I was at the demonstrations, I met them, I was kind of one of the welcoming committee for the Chicago 7 when they came to the University of Kansas. So I was right in the thick of it all.
And then fast forward to 1996, when California legalized for medical. Did you participate in that at all?
No, I really didn't at that point.
Okay. But 2016, when it was on the ballot for adult use and recreational, I know I was participating back then as well. What were you doing in those in 2016 times?
The 2016, once it became legal for adult use, I knew I wanted to get involved. And I was working in online child protection technology, and I realized that the cannabis industry was going to need the same, because it is an age-restricted product, and therefore we need to keep the kids away from it. And I had worked in that kind of technology for almost probably 15 years at that point. So that's how I came to it. And so I became an activist. I joined a lot of the trade associations. I was lobbying in DC with NCIA. I just put my whole self into the cannabis industry because I knew how good it could be for people, and it should have never been illegal.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Amen. That's right.
Yeah.
So I understand you used cannabis beverages to stop drinking alcohol. How do you do this? This will be very interesting, because a lot of the older folks that come to us,
They drink
a lot.
Well, can I say, we were raised at a time, as I said, I brought up alcohol before in the 60s. It's always been okay to drink. You go to conferences, you go to meetings, you go out, you meet for drinks. And so everybody does it. And especially seniors, at least my friends, we would meet for happy hour almost every night, and so that you would have your 2 or 3 drinks, and, it was considered perfectly fine. However, I noticed I was getting some neuropathy. And as nurses, you understand that. I did all the research about neuropathy and gout and everything I could find, and there was one common denominator, and it was alcohol. And I said to myself, if this is the cause of what's going on, what am I going to be like in 10 years? Am I going to be in a wheelchair in 10 years? And if I didn't want that, it was my responsibility to make changes in my life. I mean, so many people will go, oh, I'm drinking too much, or I can't do this, or I'm doing this. We have that responsibility to figure out what's going on in our bodies. And especially at this age, you pretty much know your body. So that's why I did it. And what I would do is I would get powdered cannabis. And when I went to the bars or when I went to parties, I would just pour it into my club soda and lime. And I liked it because it was nanotechnology. So I was getting a little buzz, the same as my friends who were drinking. And so what I would do is I would do maybe about 2.5 milligrams in the first drink. And when my friends got their second drink, I'd add another 2.5. So I really dosed it out so that I would be at the same level as my friends. And I found it was no issue. I had no issue stopping drinking, which really surprised me.
That's amazing. And that's a good dose. As you're having appetizers, a little food with it. milligrams is a starting dose for a senior. What year was this about?
This was actually May 21st will be 3 years since I stopped drinking.
Well, cool. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And you didn't have diabetes or anything, right?
No.
Okay.
No, it was not diabetic neuropathy.
Yeah.
It had to be the alcohol.
Yeah, you can get neuropathy for many different reasons, but gout is one thing. Heavy, rich foods and alcohol is 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's amazing. Well, congrats on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I just think it's great that cannabis can help people with things like this, especially as we get older. 50% of people over 65 are pre-diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really important that we cut out the alcohol and we cut out sugars and all those things. And cannabis helped.
Yeah.
So on the friends, did any of them also adopt this? Have any of your friends ditched the alcohol for cannabis?
A few of them have. They've occasionally, actually, they would come up to me. They were kind of poo-pooing me. They were going, "Oh yeah, you're not going to drink." Yeah. Well, after a year, they were coming to me and going, "What was that product that you're putting into your drink? I know I have to cut back on my alcohol." So just by being that role model that you all were talking about, it has really helped influence some other people.
Yeah, and that's 100% true. Think about all the pharmaceuticals that they're on that don't mix with alcohol, right? And then, diabetes, as we get older, we don't move as much. And when you have inactivity, you start putting on weight, and that accelerates diabetes. So.
And I hate to be a buzzkill, but alcohol is toxic to all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all of the neurotransmitter signaling systems. So, and the minute that you consume or you drink alcohol, your body gets nervous and starts to produce receptors in your brain to protect your brain, neuroprotectant, actually seeking the endocannabinoids. Anandamide, right, to protect the brain, anandamide and 2-AG.
Yeah, and if you're not making your own, you can supplement with cannabinoids, which is what you've been doing, but the other guys are left on the sidelines.
Right, exactly. So so you were using cannabis therapeutically. Yeah. You also used cannabis therapeutically when you broke your ankle. You had an injury.
Yeah, actually, yes. It was a year ago this month, and I had just been to my chiropractor, and I'd even gotten a wedge to sit on. He said, "You have to sit on this wedge." I was working on my computer. I stood up, and I had no left foot, because you're the neuropathy, you get that no feeling in your feet. And I fell down. Wow. So, but what I did is, first of all, I took a look at ibuprofen interferes with bone healing. Once again, I did lots of research, and I increased my CBD intake, and I used that for the pain and the inflammation. And then I was using the bombs on my ankle. I mean, I was doing absolutely anything you could think of. I was doing the soaking in warm and Epsom salts. I was icing, but a lot of it was the CBD and the bombs that I did that really helped heal it. And when I went back to my doctor, the orthopedic, he went, "Wow," he goes, "You're about 2 months ahead of where I expected you to be." And I went, "Well, I really worked on this. And the CBD I know helped." So
yeah, absolutely. So CBD, so tinctures and capsules on the inside, topicals on the outside, and the Epsom salts and maybe a bath bomb of THC, etc.
Oh yes, of course.
I knew you'd probably get those. Once again, did any of this translate over to your other senior friends? Did they say, "Well, I'm going to use CBD and cannabis for my break or my sprains, etc.?
Yeah, well, what I've been doing is I write about all this. You're talking about educating people and putting it out there. So I go through and I write about my experiences. And then especially with my broken ankle, I updated it and then I would put it out there so people could actually see what I did and really try to make it very simple. Because of being involved in behavior modification, I believe that, really the simpler KISS, keep it simple and successful.
Yes. Keep
Yeah.
it simple and successful.
Yeah, I work with a lot of patients with neuropathy, and keeping it simple, from Bloom, when we talk about trilogy, which is CBD, CBG, CBN. CBG and CBD are really potent anti-inflammatories. CBN's helping to soothe the nerves and the misfiring, and then the Bloom Soothing Balm on the outside is one of my favorites for neuropathy. It's got CBD, CBG, and all kinds of other things: frankincense, myrrh, calendula. And it's a really special blend, and it's very effective for neuropathy. So we can circle back on that later.
Okay, I would love to.
And also with bone healing, there has been research that has suggested that people that use cannabinoids following a break, their healing not only is expedited, but the bone is actually stronger than the pre-break, which is very, very interesting.
Oh, that is.
Yeah, so your bones are much stronger now.
Yep.
Oh, good.
When you healed it using cannabis and other healing modalities, that bone is now much healthier.
Yeah, which is why the accelerated healing as well. It fills in. So when we think about CB1 is osteoclast and breakdown, and osteoblast is rebuilding, which is CB2. And cannabinoids are very helpful at activating these to speed along that process and accelerate healing. And just go to PubMed and you'll see that study.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit. Let's go into, your history of, sex. This is what you're known for. I have a really fun video I'd love to pull up for our viewers, which I think the segment. What do you think?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see a clip.
Let's just see a clip from you. You were on The View. After we see this clip, I want you to tell us about this. And
as it's going through?
No, when we're done. So I'm going to put the video on, and as soon as the video is done, I want you to share your experience and what this was about.
Okay.
We're gonna get this. Hold on, let me get this going. This is a good one. Here we go. The View.
If you want to have hot, sizzling sex tonight, turn off the air conditioning. Oh, no. Okay. We are about to help you, we think, find the spark that will set the bedroom on fire. Joan Irvine has co-authored a book called Recipes for Hot Sex. And she says that reading her recipes will rekindle the passion and intensify your sensual pleasure, and good luck. So I read the book last night all by myself. But that's not there. But anyway, you talk about, and I've heard some of these things before, that, make yourself, put the sex first. Let your husband or your man come home and you're in this sexy negligee and you say to him, you have a choice. You can either have dinner or you can have me. Well, I think a lot of guys will come home and say, what are you doing? Especially the woman's been working all day, taking care. What are you doing in that outfit? And I'd rather have dinner. I mean, do these things work?
But they're the ones that complain later on that they don't get sex. So it's about saying you've got a choice. You want sex, you want dinner.
Yeah, but you think all of this sort of...
Well, guess what? If you're working, do you have time for both?
Yeah.
Take that. You have to call up.
So put sex first is really your message in the book.
Absolutely, because it's so important for a relationship. I mean, Recipes for Hot Sex, it's about rekindling that passion. It's about recreating that love.
Give us a couple.
Give us
a couple recipes, the ones that are not racy, because I have to tell you, that racy stuff in there.
I didn't think it was that racy, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't think that?
No, it was racy. It was racy for me. That book is rated X. I was blushing. Some of the things in there be repeated on daytime television and will not.
Well, a couple that can. Tell us, Joe.
I mean, one of the things that you think it's racy, but I work with people in my practice, and my co-author, Jeannie Ernst, who's a fitness professional, has heard it all. And when we talk about They need breakfast in bed. Now, breakfast in bed, the man's testosterone level is real high at that time, so he's going to be working really well. And you have the babysitter, you have the children out of the house, like Maury talked about, and then you start to play with food. You start to eat a strawberry, really sexy-like. And
Do you use these?
Oh, of course I do.
So you know from experience.
Absolutely, and plus with my clients.
Suck a strawberry.
Suck a strawberry. Really sexy.
What have we learned, boys and girls? Suck a strawberry. All righty then. Well, let's just try to put some of these theories into practice.
Right.
We have invited a young couple to be with us today who facing some of the same kinds of problems, Susanna and Stephen Twong. Now, they've been married for 2.5 years. They just had a baby. And the spark's out already. Barbara looked at you and went, they're so young. How can the spark be going?
You know, you girls are such prudes also. You know, Woody Allen said, if you're doing it right, it's dirty.
So, Joy, take it away.
Now, we have this couple here that we spoke to before, and they have a little sexual problem. Tell us about it, Susanna.
Well, I didn't have a problem, but
It's good for you.
it seems that the age-old question of how many times do we do it, and my time and his time, how many times just didn't seem to coincide. My 1 time a week was fine, but or once a month was fine.
But the baby.
Yeah, and we also had a baby 6 months into our marriage. Well, 6 months after we got married, I was pregnant. So that.
How old's the baby now?
He's almost a year, 11 months actually today. But
So, Stephen, maybe that's the problem. Are you nursing a baby?
not anymore. No.
No. Okay, so it's time for him now.
Start nursing another baby.
Stephen, what's going on here?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with me. It's
I love that.
you know, going from a couple of times a week to nothing.
To nothing. She says it's once a week. You're saying it's nothing.
Well, it's like, during the pregnancy, it became really difficult. And after the pregnancy, and then we started to get back into the swing of things. And, I'm hoping they'll get back to normal.
But you got the book.
Joy, we gave them the book,
Yes,
right?
you got the book. Did the book help at all, Susanna?
Well, we realized that it wasn't that somewhere along the line we lost the passion. All the techniques and the tips that you were giving, we realized, hey, we had this before. It wasn't that we never had it. So we realized, okay, we have to kind of get back into the swing of things, and it made us realize we did this before. Why don't we do it again?
So you use the recipes and they really work.
Well, like Maury said, we kind of got caught by our baby too. So.
You got caught too?
Yeah.
Stephen, what was your favorite tip in the book?
Well, I really enjoyed the questionnaire.
You enjoyed the questionnaire?
Right.
What was your favorite question?
I don't remember the specific question.
Oh, yes, you
but,
do.
No, it was more like trying to remember what the things that you liked about the other person. Like, like when you first start dating, you find out a lot of things that you like about the person, a lot of things that turn you on.
Right.
And as long as when you've been married and you have a child, you start forgetting about what turned you on about that person. So the book and the questions helped me reanalyze, what I liked about her. And
it's always the same things that you liked that you hate after a while, though. Like when you're hot for somebody, like that little wink they give you, and then after a while, it's like that tick is driving me nuts. What is that?
Leave it to Joy to give it the stamp of disapproval. But you couldn't have had a better endorsement, and what you're saying is remember what it was like when it was all wonderful and try to rekindle it.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Joan
Thank you so
Irvine.
much.
And now, and to Stephen and Susanna for being so frank, and don't sit here, go home and go to bed. And to jumpstart things, everyone in our audience is getting what many people say is the #1 aphrodisiac. Guess what? Chocolate. You're all going to get a Dove chocolate bar worth going off your diet for. We'll be back if your kids.
All right. That was amazing. And I would say infused chocolate.
That now.
Now, today.
Didn't have that back then.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
Well, just my take on it, first of all, people, they don't fall out of love, but they get very distracted. And when you have a new baby or a new job or medical issues or anything, it's hard to rekindle that awake sexuality and that relaxation enough to be able to have that. Yeah.
No. Well, as you said, it's a relaxation. I mean, first of all, it is getting back to taking the time. I mean, you do have to take that time with one another. But then it's also your body has changed. Either when you have a baby or when, let's say, you go through menopause, you need more stimulation.
Yes.
That and then you used to have, and the cannabis helps that.
Yeah.
So that it brings more blood flow into the vagina and into the clitoris. It relaxes the muscles, so you relax. And I always say, I mean, I love cannabis infused lubes because I feel like it's like little mini orgasms, going on in your vagina, because it's like a crescendo.
Yeah. So just like cannabis, you didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to, be a sex therapist, or I'm going to be involved in helping people. Why did you become involved in helping others have better sex lives?
Well, okay. First of all, I went to parochial school. I had 13 years of nuns. And all you heard was sex is bad, 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 bad. And you had to wait till you got married. You had to be a virgin, or no guy was ever going to want to marry you because you were, a tainted woman. And the nuns wouldn't even teach, like they were supposed to teach marriage and family in my senior year. One nun wouldn't even teach it because you didn't want to know about that. So I was raised at a time it was bad. There was no sex education. The way you learned about sex was you went to the library. In fact, the first time I had sex, I went and I studied premarital sex and the pros and the cons of premarital sex. That's how dorky I am. Wow. But then when I got to college and I was a psych major, I put together a sex education course, a syllabus. It was never taught, but it was put on the books because I realized a lot of people were in my situation. Well, it was all by trial and error, and that's not a great way to learn about sex.
No.
So, but then go forward. And when I went back to school to get my Doctor of Clinical Hypnotherapy, I said, sex, hypnotherapy can really help with this. And so I did my thesis on using hypnosis for sexual enhancement.
Wow.
And it worked.
Wow.
And it was really, people needed this.
Mm-hmm. Wait, did you grow up in Kansas as well?
No, I grew up in New York.
Okay.
But went to school at University of Kansas.
Okay. Yeah, I know Kansas. I mean, Kansas and sex and cannabis. Kansas remains an illegal state for cannabis and probably sex ed as well. I grew up the road in Illinois, in Chicago, and we didn't really get a whole lot of sex ed either. So, it's something that is taboo. People don't want to talk about it. And, I learned about sex from my friends, whoever was having it first, and then the boys, right? They taught me things. My first boyfriend in high school, right?
And he didn't probably know anything.
Well, he had an older girl once before me, so we were fine. But the thing is, back then, in 17 years old, you have so many hormones going through you, and you're so excited that things just happen naturally. You don't have to think about it. Now, fast forward to seniors, you have to slow down. You have to make time for it. You got to feel good. You got to set the atmosphere. Lots of things maybe you'd like to allude to.
Yes, that's what I'd love to hear is how you work with seniors with cannabis and sex to help them live their best lives. Because as well.
Yeah. Well, first, I really find out what's going on with them and what their issues are. I mean, I have one client that is like 80 years old, And he has a girlfriend. She's not as into sex as he is. And he's really feeling that lack of intimacy. But what was interesting is he went to his urologist for his annual checkup. And he said to the urologist, hey, I think I might have a little bit of an ED issue. And the doctor said, I don't have time to deal with that. I was just going, he's 81, so he shouldn't be having sex. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things is that there was that myth that old people don't have sex. You may have different sex, mm-hmm. and you may, if somebody has ED, you have to maybe incorporate sex toys into your play, because it is adult play. Sex is a play, and it creates an intimacy. And so you talk about that, and how are they setting it up, and then you have them set up an environment. So remember back to when it really felt good, and it was a nice hot evening, and what music was playing. So you work on the environment, because that affects the mind, and we know the mind is the largest sex organ there is. Yes. So you get people to start there, and then it starts to produce all the chemicals and the hormones that the rest of your body needs for sexual excitement. So that's really where I start. And it's also giving them permission.
Yeah, right.
People sadly need to have that permission. And also for them to know how important it is for the connection that they have. I mean, that having sex with somebody and having an orgasm, you can just feel the energy flow between you. And it creates that connection that really keeps a relationship going.
Yeah, and it's mutually reinforcing that you have desire, that you have respect, that you have trust. All yes. of that is key to being able to have healthy intimacy. And I'm sure there's probably unhealthy intimacy even in seniors as well, because there are so many hangups. And ED, for the listeners, erectile dysfunction.
Okay, sorry.
And a lot of times it's a medical issue, right? Blood pressure pills, other heart drugs, other antidepressants. Antidepressants, 1 out of 4 people are on antidepressants, and people don't realize your Zoloft, your Paxil, your Prozac, they stop things. They might help you get going because you're more happier, you're less stressed, but then you can't climax, and that gets very frustrating.
Oh yeah. In fact, you were saying that. Do you realize birth control pills? Well, you would know birth control pills can inhibit the libido. So you have these women who are childbearing, and the men are full of testosterone at that time, and they're taking birth control pills, and they don't have the same libido.
Right.
So you have all these chemicals and these medications, and being the nurses, I mean, I love being able to refer people to you because of the fact that there are people on a lot of medications, and there could be interaction. And so people can contact you, and you can tell them what they need and how to take it. Because I think it's very important, because a lot of people do not know how to consume cannabis.
Yes.
You've learned.
Yeah,
yes.
On the cannabis, but we also talk to them about the other side of the treatment plan, right? Because we've both been nurses 37, 36 years, all of the other drugs and the pharmaceuticals and the procedures and how that interplays with everything. And, one of the first questions I like to ask people is, what's important to you? What do you want cannabis to do for you? And if they say, I want it to give me better sex, it's like, okay, let's talk about some of the other things on the table that might be in the way. And people trust us, right? Nurses are the most trusted profession on earth. 22 years in a row, and they just confess everything, and so it's a wonderful environment to be able to have that discussion, because then we send them back out on their way, and they can go and try these different things, and really get rewarded.
And it's really important. And the part that's even just as important is the endocannabinoid system care, right? And so when we're looking at whatever your symptom is, whatever your condition is, whatever your problem is, whatever you want to resolve, everything that you do or don't do in your life affects how cannabis and CBD works in your body and also influences the endocannabinoid system, right? So making healthy choices, like you said, stopping the alcohol, right? Healthy eating. Nutrition is so important. Fast food, fried food, fake food, artificial flavors, artificial coloring, trans fat, hydrogenated oils, high fructose corn syrup,
if you want to get
sugar.
Lucky, if you want to get lucky out of the drive-through, eat a plethora of plants. We watched something about hacking the gut, hack your health with gut health on Netflix last week, and they said eat 20 to 30 different plants a week. I don't know if I even do that. I get 20 probably. But it's like, how many people are eating 5 plants a week? And do they really understand the parallels between nutrition and how they feel?
And I'm just going to do a little bit more educating because this is my favorite thing. A lot of people don't know this, but our enteric nervous system, which runs from our mouth to our butt, right? It's where our microbiome is held. Well, our microbiome is in multiple different places, but our microbiome in our gut, enteric nervous system, communicates to our central nervous system via the endocannabinoid system. So taking care of that system is so, so important. The endocannabinoid system, the endocannabinoid dome, which is the larger environment that interacts with the endocannabinoid system. It's the lipid dome, the microbiome, all the nutritional components and all of the activities that we're doing that are either supporting us or not.
Yeah. And one more thing, movement, right? Motion is the lotion. Exercise makes us feel fantastic. It wakes us up, gives us energy. And it also helps you feel more erotic to each other. Having a nice walk and getting some exercise, breaking a little sweat is really good. And then sleep. Can't emphasize sleep enough. Proper sleep. Maybe you want to break down any of those and how you might coach clients?
Well, first of all, I'm very big into plants, and I follow a couple of different diets that, I even stopped eating gluten about a year and a half ago. So I really listen to my body. But back to being able to talk about it right there, because a lot of men, I always say that, men just don't talk about it, because as we were taught that how our body looks and our breast are our womanhood, they're taught that the size of their penis and being able to get an erection is their manhood. And when they can't get an erection or they can't get hard enough in order to have intercourse, it really messes with this head, which of course then creates more issues in the other head. It's right. So it's really being able to talk and come up with alternatives. Yep. I was talking to had some clients, and they're in their 50s, married for 30 years. They were always hot for one another. And all of a sudden, she just didn't have the same libido. And he was kind of over there. And they finally talked about it. And they actually said, okay, something's going on and we need to do something about it. So they went to a great gynecologist in Redondo Beach, and actually who put them on the testosterone pellets. No, the hormones. And that the testosterone is part of what feeds the libido. And that helped. Yeah. But communication is where you start.
Yeah, and that testosterone works both sexes, right? Male and female. And when you're going through menopause, you're losing all your hormones, and it's all the androgens. So estrogen, testosterone, progesterone in a woman, and so the bioidentical hormones are actually key for women, and of course testosterone supplements for men. I haven't heard of the pellets.
They're pellets that have testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone, and they insert just underneath the skin.
Yeah.
So you get a complete,
a slow
and
release.
it's always flowing through your body, and it lasts about 6 months.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, menopause can be really tough. I'll tell you what, when I was going through menopause, I was going through outfits. I wanted to invent this jumpsuit. I wanted to invent this terry cloth jumpsuit because I would drench the bed every single day. I was like, this is something that someone needs to invent because then it impacts your sleep. It impacts your mood. You don't feel sexy when you're sweaty and slimy and gross and stinky, right? So it's very, very interesting how we need to really work and communicate and educate and help each other. And really part of the intimacy is having those deep, rich conversations outside of the bedroom, right? Some of the best foreplay can happen before you're even in the bedroom, having that discussion and being open and intimate and deep and authentic and transparent with your needs.
Especially for women.
Yeah.
We need that emotional connection in general. And you brought up menopause. There has been research out there since the 80s, but we were never told that women after menopause or after having a hysterectomy need more lubrication and more stimulation. So that's why infused cannabis lubes for the vagina are so important. And some men will go, oh, well, you're not lubricating enough naturally. There must be something wrong with you.
Wow.
It's like,
yes.
Yeah.
And lubrication, wetness does not determine arousability. So someone could be extremely aroused and be dry, and that has nothing to do with their intimacy. It's just it's physiological response.
Yeah.
Right. It's not connected.
Yeah. And then for stimulation, to add a vibrator.
Right.
I love guys. I love their penises. But guess what? Sometimes they just can't do the same stimulation that is necessary for a lot of women to have an orgasm. But men sometimes will get uptight and they're going, oh, you need a vibrator? I'm not enough. Yeah. I don't see those men, but the fact that you do need it, and if you're with a partner who really cares about you and cares about your pleasure, he or she is going to be very open, to doing whatever it takes to give you pleasure. Yeah. That's part of the intimacy.
Tell me a little bit, about how you work with clients, talking about cannabis and sex, and then do you do hypnotherapy with couples?
Oh yeah. And what I'll do a lot of times is I'll see a couple together. I'll see them, then I see them separate, and then I'll see them together, and I'll do hypnotherapy, and I have them go back to, in their mind, to one of the most sexual, sensual times they've ever had. So they create this image in their mind, and their body starts to react to what their mind is telling them. And so I go through that with them, and then I have them, maybe there's music that they remember, or maybe there's a fragrance. So I have them recreate that very sexual moment. And then I have them in hypnosis kind of install that. I always think of hypnosis as creating new software, because we have software, whatever's been working for us, and now it's not. So we need to to modify the software and then install the software.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I think about what I'm doing with people.
Yeah.
And then also to have them be able to talk openly, because there's a lot of people, we were taught missionary position. That was pretty much it. Some people get turned on by, men get turned on by looking at toes, or looking at shoes, or somebody maybe into breast. But a lot of times they'd say you had a foot fetish. Well, if that is what works for him, go for it, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's cool.
absolutely. Yeah. So, Joan, let's talk a little bit about your
Cannabis.
radio show.
Oh, I'm having so much fun with it.
I love it. It's living your best life. I love it.
I didn't know that yours was called Living Your Best Life when I named it. And actually, the station owner came up with the name. So I did it because I wanted to get information out there. You were talking about getting information to the masses. I mean, one of the reasons that I got involved in doing radio and TV is I wanted to be able to affect more people's lives. I mean, because you do a lot one-on-one, but when you get to a larger audience, it really helps more people. So I talk about cannabis. And one of the things that I can do, being a little bit older, people don't expect me to be talking about cannabis, nor do they expect me to be talking about sex. And I'm not PC. I mean, I'll talk about blowjobs and erections and the reality of it. I don't go, oh, okay, now have him put his hard penis into your vagina and pump away, and no, it doesn't just happen that way. So I talk about those two, and also in Redondo, we're going to be the only city that's going to have legal dispensers in the South Bay. So that, and it's still going to be in about another 12 to 14 months. So I talk about that because I talk at every city council meeting about cannabis and educating people about cannabis. So part of the show was to be able to let people know what's going on in Redondo and more about cannabis and the benefits of cannabis. And by having experts like you on my show, then I'm providing them with a lot more information.
Yeah, and education is the solution, and progress is slow. But what do the city council members say when you show up and you start talking about cannabis and seniors?
They've gotten used to me. No, I've been living in Redondo for almost 18 years, and I did Leadership Redondo, which is a program through the chamber. So I've been a community leader for a while. And I started the nonprofit that we clean up this area called the Esplanade. So it's an environmental one that we engage the city. So they know me. And what can they say? I always say they have to be nice to me. They can't go, no, you can't talk about it. But I'm very respectful. I make sure that I bring data. I bring them information, and I meet with them, because I have one city council person who's still not for cannabis, and I've talked to him and addressed what I thought was his objections, and I'd go to a next city council meeting and he'd have another objection. And so, it's like you're having to constantly educate them and find out what their objections are and address those objections if you can.
Right.
And I always, it's so important. And I just always tell them that by not being legal, they're really interfering with senior health. Mm-hmm. And they're putting children, and it's public safety. They're putting children at jeopardy because of the illicit market.
Yeah, right.
So I remind them about that.
When we talk about senior health, make sure you're drawing the parallels to alcohol abuse that seniors are using for depression and pain, and opioids that they're using for pain, and all of the other pharmaceuticals that they're using. Because it's not healthy. You need to help them go back to the point of what is senior health? How do we define that? And really, it's the lowest amount of pharmaceuticals possible, and thriving health with.
Well, what's important to seniors as they age? Cognition, movement, independence, enjoying your golden years, and living your best life. Functionality, right? The drivers live outside the conventional system and are modifiable by us. So truly, and the therapeutic use of cannabis has been defined by the American Cannabis Nurses Association as the use of cannabis products for medicinal, wellness, and healing purposes. And there's subjective criteria. It's personal and subjective to each person, with objective criteria being measured in improvement in one of the 5 health domains: biopsychosocial, spiritual, and mental.
And we'd love to work with you on these initiatives because, us being the nurses, being able to go in, we could be game changers together because, there's no reason why people stop having sex. They stop because they hurt, they have medical issues. But if we can use CBD and other cannabinoids to help them heal from those, and a little bit of THC to relax the mind and the body and the spirit to want that and rekindle desire and use that imagery, like as you alluded to, and some old music from the 70s, you can rekindle it and you can have it all and you can get back to your best life.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love, can I say, one of the things that I love about how you teach is that that umbrella analogy you use, and that cannabis or endocannabinoids actually balance things. And I don't think I just see it as another supplement.
Yes. Yes. The endocannabinoid system is the largest neurotransmitter signaling system in the body. It regulates all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all of the neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, opioid signaling, TRPV1 signaling, all of these other signaling systems that give messages to tell your body to either do something or not do something. And how I like to teach on it is that umbrella concept, how our body is an umbrella, because all of the spokes of the umbrella show the interconnectedness of all of our body parts, right? And so if our umbrella is going up and down nicely, we have a good toned, healthy endocannabinoid system. If we have tears in the fabric and we've got broken, bent pieces, well, messages aren't getting to the to actually correct cell signaling. And that's what the endocannabinoid system does. It helps to correct cell signaling to promote the relaxation response, right?
And it is like a vitamin, right? It's a supplement, and it's probably one of the first supplements people need to balance all of these other systems, because if we're in homeostasis, we feel well, and we can function. And people don't take just B, C, D, and E vitamins just for one thing. It's a plethora of things, and CBD is the same way.
Yep. Joan, we're wrapping up on our time here. So, before we end, we're going to end with one of my other favorite videos. If you had any words of wisdom because as we know now, the DEA has now made a move to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. So we have a lot of seniors that are listening. What advice would you give to the senior population that is new and exploring cannabis?
For education. And to talk to do as much research as possible, to talk to professional. I mean, I love the bud tenders, but the bud tenders only know about like some of it. They don't know the health issues that they have to deal with. But just educate when it comes to sex. My mantra is whatever is safe and consensual between adults is natural, normal, and okay. So they can open up their mind to new possibilities, and that you don't have to get old just because you're getting older.
Right. That's true. That is true. We don't die of old age. We die of old age related diseases caused by chronic inflammation. Boom. How's that?
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
How can our listeners find you if they'd like a session with you?
Oh, well, they can go to Joan at joanirvineconsulting.com.
Yep. And it's in the show notes.
Okay.
Oh, right there. Okay. Yeah.
Right below this video, there's all kinds of show notes. It has Joan's Facebook page, her LinkedIn page, her website, as well as video to the view that we just saw today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Joan, thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, everyone, what it's all about. It is truly about living your best life and helping others do the same. And we're going to end with one of my other favorite videos that means a lot to me. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And you know, the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses Group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.